Twitter stuff sent out. Get our bot in here. Get the Discord going and test the mic to make sure that everything's actually working. And then we should be good. So, hello everyone, this is Chris Ingerson, and it is August 30th, and this is the August 30th TextQuest Devstream. So, today we are going to be working on customized key bindings, or rather customizable key bindings. This is something that I have been meaning to do for quite some time. I have avoided it as long as possible because I really knew this was going to be a complicated thing. But I think it's kind of one of the next logical steps that we need to take for us to actually get. I think at that point, all of our options will more or less be done, outside of maybe some very specific things that might crop up in the future. But I seriously don't think that's going to be much of an issue. So currently, we have a game options menu, which is used for adjusting various in-game controls, not necessarily key bindings, but things like you can see toggle run, toggle crouch, toggle auto move, all that stuff, as well as sensitivity settings. But what we probably would want to do is, I don't think I want to put the key bindings area in this, because I can't really list the key bindings all along here. That would make this drop down, or this the scroll area just way too big. And I don't want to have it be like the top level item, because it doesn't really make sense for that. Also, hello, Palm Tree Llama. Welcome back. How are you doing tonight? No, this is not the Krusty Krab. Although people have described me as crabby before, so who knows? Maybe in the future. Um, Anyway, so I think what I'm going to do is, instead of putting it in the game tab, which means I'm going to have to change that description whenever you hover over it, probably what we'll do is we will have a new section in the options view called key bindings, just so that I can keep it clean and isolated, and mostly because the menu that we're going to have for it is pretty blah. I actually am not entirely sure if I think for now what we're going to do is um, you might need to get to a hospital then. I feel like you'd be dying of disease. Where can I get this game? Well, it's not officially available yet, but hold on. Over here. Aha. So you can get the demo on the website if you are curious. And it's not necessarily the most up to date, but it is representative for the most part of what the game is going to be. So there is a Mac and a Windows demo up on the website, as well as an email list if you want to sign up for updates, which I don't send out very often, but they will be for important things like when I actually release the game. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get started on actually creating that menu. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and open up our UI. Turn that on, and we're going to pull up our options view just so I can make the actual base options area correct. Oh, interesting. Oh, that's because it was the sewer, right? Okay, so we're going to do a couple of things. First, we're going to change our hint. So we're going to just say adjust gameplay settings, and instead of saying and key bindings, we'll say adjust gameplay settings like toggle crouch and mouse moving. I think that would probably be two of the most important things. Holy crap, do I not? I don't know, that should be fine. Although, real quick, I am actually curious about that. I do have an FOV slider, right? I'm not crazy. Oh, wait, no, that's under display options. No, surely I do have that, right? Holy crap, I might not actually have an FOV slider. I might have to add that tonight, because that's kind of important. I don't think I think I might have held off for stupid reasons. Well, not stupid reasons, reasons before, but I don't think I need that anymore. Actually, real quick, I'm gonna play through that to make sure that I do have an FOV slider. Because if I don't, I'm gonna be a little concerned. Oh, and probably we're gonna be doing some coding, and it's probably mostly gonna be coding. So we'll leave it like that for now. All right, let me change some stuff around real quick. All right, so we're gonna click through here. Let's go to options, game. Holy crap, I might not have an FOV slider. I thought I did. I do not. Well, we're going to add that real quick, actually, because that's kind of an important thing. Well, actually, no, no. We'll focus on key binding because I said that's what we were going to do. I will make a note for myself, though, that I need to do FOV sliders. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of that. And then we'll go ahead and stop this real quick. All right, so let's turn on our UI again. Come back down here, and we're going to say just gameplay settings like, we'll say FOV, and mouse smoothing. Let's say field of view. I think those are two pretty understandable concepts. All right, so let's go ahead and open up this script because we're going to have to set up event buttons and all that for it. I think we're going to put this underneath the game hint. So we'll put this in. We're going to make this, let's see. I guess we would call this just key bindings. Key bindings hint. And we're just going to have this be customize key bindings for various controls, various in-game actions. Yeah, that seems fine. It seems weird to just say customize key bindings because that's literally what key bindings would say anyway. So I guess this is probably a more descriptive thing. All right, let's go ahead and copy this. We're going to name this key bindings button. Key bindings button. Save that. Okay, and let's go ahead and go down to here. We'll say case K. Oops. Copy this. Paste that. So this will be keys. Key bindings. I probably should do one more, like key binding, then binding, and then bindings. Last one. I just tried to get the like obvious ones. Otherwise, I'd be here all day. That's just nuts. So, okay. We have that. I don't have a function for it yet, so I can't actually do anything yet. Let's go down to, we'll make this private void on key bindings clicked. We'll say UI.open. I think it's just going to be called key bindings options view. Okay. Let's go back up here. Copy this. Put this here. Semicolon. Looking good. I don't have that messing up anything, right? Yep. Okay, that looks good. We're going to go down to here. Pretty much just copy and paste a bunch of stuff. We're going to say on key bindings clicked. This is going to be key bindings button. Okay. Let's go ahead and copy this. Let's go ahead and copy that. Paste it in there. Key bindings button. Key bindings button. Bindings button. And key bindings hint. All right. Looking good. So that's pretty much all we should need for that. So we can let that go. And yep, that should be good. Let's go ahead and let that compile. And then we'll be able to fill in those seats or references, I guess. All right. So let's see. You gonna load? Nope. It's still oh, interesting. It's still compiling, but it didn't have the compiling sign there. That was weird. I've not seen it do that before. Okay, so we want to duplicate this. Let's go ahead and back up. Try to focus on this. Make sure everything looks right. Okay, so we're going to just duplicate this. Move this up to here. I think we're pretty good there. What does it look like? Yeah, I think that's fine. We're not really scrunching anything, so. Alright, let's go ahead and single this out. We're going to rename this to Key Bindings button. Key Bindings button. Let's change our label. Oh, which I have not selected a label yet, so. Alright, we're going to call this Key Bindings. Okay. Alright, so that looks like it's lined up properly. Degakmb. I always think like I should try to rearrange these so that they spell stuff, but that would just be, it takes so much effort. Okay. So let's go to we gotta assign our references. So right there should be good. And let's go ahead and collapse this, turn this off, hit apply. All right, so that's all we should need for our options view. But now we need to make an actual key binding menu. And the way that that's going to work is largely going to be, I guess for one, I'm pretty much just going to steal this all. We'll get rid of, we'll keep the back button, but I'm going to move it out of content above it. We'll get rid of pretty much all of this, I would say, except for one, which I will keep for obvious reasons that I will talk about in a second. And yeah, here's where things are going to get interesting, because I'm pretty sure that this is not actually a scroll area. So yeah. Okay, let's go ahead. We're going to get rid of this. We'll keep that there for now. I'm going to create a UI scroll area, which I always, it's scroll review. Yeah. And before I go any further, I am going to go ahead and rename this and make it a prefab so I don't accidentally make these changes apply to my actual prefab there. To my options for prefab, I want it to be the key bindings prefab. Key bindings. That's probably good enough. Let's go ahead and remove this component. Then I will add key bindings option preview. We have our root. We have our output label, which is down here. We have our input, which is apparently one more down. Placeholder label is right there. Okay. And that's pretty straightforward. We're not going to hide cursor on close. And what else do we want to do? That's probably good enough for now. So we're going to make this into a prefab. It's currently going to be broken horribly, but now it's its own separate prefab, so I can apply changes easily. Okay, so with this, we're going to want to go ahead and go to our scroll view. We'll get rid of the horizontal scroll view because I don't want it. We don't need it either. We will also go up to our scroll view. We're going to make this be none. And we are going to have this not scroll horizontally. It will scroll vertically. It's going to be clamped, not elastic. I guess we'll have inertia. Scroll sensitivity is usually about 10, maybe 15, depending on if I feel like it should go higher, because its default value is way too slow. And here is where things are going to get fun. So we're going to go ahead and stretch this scroll view so it fills up all of the content. We are going to get rid of this background image because I do not actually need it. We will get rid of this. We're going to go to our viewport and we will leave this as it is. It is going to be a mask, which I probably could actually make this a mask 2D, but it's fine. Okay, so we have our pivot at 1, position 0, that's all good. Okay, so here's where it gets to be pretty fun. If you've never worked with Unity's UI system before, this is going to be a learning experience. But what we're going to do is we are going to create a list that will automatically expand its size so that it can contain however many we actually need it to. So I don't have to like carefully calculate out how the spacing should work or what its size should be. It'll just automatically expand. So to do that, we're going to go to Layout, give it a vertical layout group, and then we're also going to go to Layout and give it a content size fitter. We will set its vertical fit to be the min size. We will give our spacing probably 10, maybe I might lower that to 5. Control width and height and all that, fun. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this back button over to here. And you'll notice that everything's kind of scrunched because our height is being smushed. Let's go ahead and do that. You're not scaled, are you? Good. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back to here and we're going to say layout element. We'll give it a min height of 50. And I'm pretty sure that's what our actual button was at. So let's see. Oh, dang it. Of course I put the back button in there. Oops, wrong one. Oh well. So you have a height of 400, which is also not correct. 50 is usually about right for these things. So, okay, that seems right. And we're actually going to move the back button out because I don't want the back button in there. I do want the display button to be like that. So we can go ahead and copy this, paste it here. Because I want the back button to always be visible. So we are going to go ahead and we're going to put the scroll view above that. We're going to move the back button to be along the entire bottom of this. We'll give it a pivot of 0.5 and 0, position Y of 0. That should be all good, and then we'll be able to give our scroll view a 50 offset from the bottom so that everything's nice there. And actually, while I'm in here, let's go ahead and drag this in. I'm just going to swap in the actual... Oh, it's not going to have it in options, is it? Let's go to game options, pull that in. I'm going to swap out the default scroll bar with a better looking one that adheres to my UI design. So we're going to pull out our scroll bar here. We will put that right about there. Hit continue. We can delete that. So this looks a lot better in relation to what our menus are currently stylized as. So we're going to get rid of scroll bar vertical. We'll go back here to scroll view. We'll give it the scroll bar here. Vertical scroll bar. Everything looks good there. We will give it an offset of... Do I really need it to have an offset from the bottom? I don't. I don't know why that one did. Oh, I guess that makes sense because the other one, yeah, okay. Should I give this actually an apply to? I should. Okay. So I need to do two things. One, I need to actually duplicate this button. Because I don't want just a back button, I want a cancel button versus an accept button, I guess. So we're going to go ahead and go back over to here. We'll say accept. Wow, that's going to get super weird since we can't. They're in the same spot. So we're actually going to give this an offset of, I'm guessing, probably it's going to be closer to like 60. Yeah, that's better. Okay, and then that means that our scroll view is actually going to have to come up by 110. There we go. It's a little scrunched, but I think it'll be fine. Okay, Let's go ahead and come back here. We got to change our label here, so it's going to say cancel. It's going to be a C instead of a B. All right. So for the display button, this is actually going to be a different thing entirely, because it's really going to be weird. So one, I want that to all be none. Oh, which is great. So I need to fix that real quick. Come back up to here. Change my options real quick. Select all of my buttons. Make them have no navigation, because navigation is a very frustrating thing in this game. Well, not in this game, but in Unity's UI system. It can make buttons look like they're being hovered when they're not, just because of how it's set up. Of course, what's fun is if I get controller stuff to work, then this entire thing will have to be redesigned. Well, not redesigned, but just slightly altered. Okay. So we're going to keep our cancel and accept buttons, and now we need to actually set up our key binding options. So how do I want to handle this? Probably what we will do is we are going to have two different labels. So currently it's obviously one big thing, but we don't actually want a label to just be below it. I'm going to need two. I'm going to need one for the actual label and then one for the control. Because when you click on it, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to basically make our key that you're supposed to press turn into an ellipse, and then when you press a new key, like if I hit D, it'll snap over to D and say, okay, so you want us to use D. And of course, if you have a key or if you have a control that already uses that key, then I do need to notify the player that that's the case. So that's going to be a whole usability thing, but we'll get to that when we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So let's go ahead and we'll get rid of this. Okay, I can visually line them up there. So we're going to get rid of this. And then we're going to basically duplicate this label. We're going to make this first label go only to about, I don't even know if I want it to be 0.5, but 0.5 might be okay. Let's go ahead and say 111. Then it's going to have a min of 0.5, and it's going to say D. Nope. Oh wait, it's got an offset. Ooh, it's really hard to tell. So I'm going to cheat and just drag this up so I can... Oh, it's so close. Oh, it's so close. That's so disappointing. Okay. So disappointing. I don't know what to do about that. I suppose what we would want to do is, well, one, before I forget again, I need to make sure that my content has padding from the right. I'm going to guess like 20. Oh, no, let's go to 50. Okay, let's go crazy. 100. Okay, let's go back to 20. Yeah, that's better. I just needed to make sure that I had some space between this and the scroll bar. Otherwise, it would bleed together. So we are going to change this to our value label. And here is where things are going to get interesting. I probably don't want these to be just a bunch of things that I have to assign event listeners to. Instead, I probably want to make this a prefab. And then I can, I can basically just spawn them in and populate them at runtime. So what we're going to do is I'm going to change the label so it's doing something useful, like forward, and then we'll have this be W. That's a decent way to picture it. So we're going to go ahead and grab this. I'm going to make a new folder down here. Say folder, and I'm going to make this our key bindings. And that's just so that I can keep everything together. So we're going to make this into our key bindings button. Button. Let's grab that. Got hiccups. Okay, get rid of you. And now I'm going to go ahead and just turn this off. We're going to hit apply here. We're going to move this up into that folder. And now what we're going to do is actually edit our script because I need to do so. Okay, so we are going to have, let's see, what do I need? So I need all the buttons. Well, the two of the buttons and then the actual thing that we spawn in. Okay. Oh shoot. You know what? Probably that won't work. Let's go to debug real quick. I get the feeling. Yeah, we got a label there. Let's go to normal. Okay, so I need to make a child class of event button. So we will, let's go down to here. We're going to create a C# script. We'll call this a key binding button. Okay. Let's go ahead and open this up. Okay, and this is going to be in the TextQuest namespace using sleepyowl.com and then using tmpro. And this is going to have it's going to derive from event button. Okay. And with that, we are also going to want to add basically direct references to the labels. So we'll say serialize field, private text mesh pro UGUI. We'll say, I don't think I can actually use label because I'm pretty sure that that's already being used by the base class. Right? Am I crazy? I'm not crazy, you're crazy. It's got to be used. Yep, there it is. Oh, I called it M label. That's why. Okay. So, actually, let me go to this definition real quick. Am I even using this anywhere? I might strip that out. Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of that because I don't need those to have labels really. Okay, let's get rid of that, and now I can keep label. I mean, I guess I could have kept it before because it was M label and label. Anyway, so this is going to be tooltip, the label to show what the key binding is for. We're pretty much just going to copy this twice, I believe. That should be it. This is going to be our value label, the label to show what the key binding key is. Okay, and that is pretty much all I need. And then we're going to have a public function, public void, initialize. I hate it when it auto-completes that. Okay, let's go ahead and come back down here. And we're going to say, it's going to take a string label, string value label, and then this is going to be label, this dot label dot text is equal to label, and this dot value label dot text is equal to value label. Okay. Pretty much that's all I needed from this, I think. Let's go ahead and let that compile, and then I'm going to have to make a custom editor script for it. I'm also going to open it back up because it's going to give me multiple line endings. I know it is. I'm going to fix it before it even becomes an issue. If it will let me, which it probably won't, because why would it? So close. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and hit that. Let that save. And while that's happening, I need to navigate to my editor folder and add a new custom editor for it. If it ever lets me, of course. Because you have to understand that I'm being very unreasonable when I say I want to navigate my project. Oh my god, this compile time is ridiculous. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and say, so so Sleepy Owl text quest, but where's the, oh, it's probably under just the editor folder, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go to scripts. I guess actually it would be under views, yeah. So under views, then title menus. And then options, I'm guessing, yep. Create folder, options, create folder, key bindings. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and create C# script. This is going to be our key binding button editor. Go ahead and open that up. All right, this is going to be in our text quest. Let's go up to here using Unity Editor, using sleepyowl.com, common editor. We're going to come up to here. Oh, and actually, no, I actually don't need to do that. So we're going to say it's going to derive from event button inspector, which tells you how old this is because I used the word inspector instead of frickin' editor. We will pretty much just call, let's see, custom buttons. Let's go ahead and open this script up actually. Go to definition. We're calling base.onInspector GUI, draw custom buttons. That's all fine. We're going to make this protected. I suppose I should probably make those protected as well. So let's go ahead and say protected. Oh, wait. Yeah, okay, that's already a protected override. Just going to make these protected, so if I ever need to, I can actually access them. Okay. And then all I should have to do is, let's see, Inspector GUI. I guess that would probably be fine. So let's go ahead and go back to here. We're going to say override on enable because we're going to need to do all that fun stuff. Then we're also going to need to do override on inspector GUI, which is really going to suck. That sucks. Okay, so we're going to add not public, protected void draw base inspector. Okay, and we're just going to copy this, move it down to here. We're going to call draw base inspector. Okay, pretty simple there. And then I can come up to here, and instead of calling based on inspector GUI, I can say draw base inspector followed by draw custom buttons, which I'm actually going to move around as well. So we're going to move that to here. We're going to move this if statement into the draw custom buttons function. So boop, copy this, paste this, that, hit indent. All right, and that should pretty, actually, no, let's go ahead and just move this stuff up there while I'm at it. So we're going to do, of course, hate it when I do that. Inevitably, it always happens. We're going to update that, cut this, and then we'll paste it here. Okay, makes that pretty easy. So these two functions that I just moved around, serialized object.update, is what actually tells the inspector to update the values that are shown to be their current values. And then apply modified properties tells it to actually set any of those values that you've adjusted. So it's important when you're writing custom editor scripts that you use both of those functions and that they're in that order, update then apply. Update should almost always be the first thing you do, unless you're doing stuff like this, where you're destroying the base inspector, because it already is doing that. And then apply modified should usually be the last thing you do. And just so you're aware, if you call base.onInspectorGUI after you call update, then this apply modified properties will not actually function as you would expect. Because technically what you would have done is you would tell it to update, and then the base would tell it to update, and then end with apply modified properties, and then you would have a second apply modified properties, which could potentially be weird because you've already tried to apply them. So just be aware of that. Anyway, so we're going to come back down to here. We're going to say draw custom buttons. Go ahead and do that. We'll say editor GUI layout dot space. Put that between them. But before we get to the buttons, because those should be the last thing that we do, we're going to say editor GUI layout dot space. So we'll have another space, and then I'm just going to do a couple of oh, I closed it. That's right. Custom editor type of key binding button. Oh, dang it. I used capital B. Oh, well. Which means that I need to change this now. Okay. So we're going to do that. Let's go over to definition here real quick. Just going to copy these guys, move them over to here, paste that, grab that, serialized property, copy these things around, and then we're going to go ahead and just say label is equal to serialized object dot find property, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be label. Copy this, paste that. We'll say value label, value label. We're going to rename this because I like to make my custom scripts adhere to a slightly different naming convention, so I can easily tell which variables are serialized properties and which ones are, well, serialized properties on the thing that's being inspected versus values that I'm just currently making on the spot. We're also going to go ahead and say can edit multiple objects. So if I want to, I can actually edit multiple key binding buttons. And at that point, all I need to do is say editor GUI layout dot property field m label. Oops. Okay, let's copy this, paste that in. Then m value label, hit save, and that should make everything run as you would expect. So let's go ahead, close this, let that compile. If I can get in here before it actually finishes compiling, I can make that be a capital one, but I don't think it's going to let me, so. You can do it. Come on, Unity. It's not that hard. Maybe you can do it. You might not be able to do it. Ah, jeez. Okay. So key binding. And it just sucks because I have to open it up again. And it's going to recompile, and it's going to cause complaints, and then it's just no fun for everyone. Let's go ahead and save that. Hit play. All right. Let's go ahead and let that finish compiling. And then we might actually be able to do something after that. Let's make sure that I don't have any of those still there. Still have some warnings from third-party assets, which I really need to complete. I'm going to try, by the way, to make my custom key binding stuff work outside of Rewired first, because I would like to know if I can get it to work without using a third-party asset, since that would mean I could actually strip Rewired out, because I haven't actually hooked it into anything yet. And getting rid of a third-party asset, like an entire third-party asset, is always a really good feeling, because it just means that you don't have as much project bloat, and your compile times get better, and just everything usually improves. So let's go ahead and we can close this now. Close that. We're going to go here now, and here say serialized field. Let's do some tooltips because that's good convention now. We're going to say private. Is going to be our event button. Oh, right. I almost forgot. So using sleepyal.common event button. Okay, one more time. Event button. Weird. Why are you not giving me my autocomplete? But whatever. We're going to say accept button. Okay. Go ahead and copy this, paste this in. Oh, that's why, because I was doing something very stupid. Paste that in here. Okay, we're going to make this not accept button, but rather cancel button. And then we will also go ahead and pretty much paste one of them in. And this one is not going to be an event button, but rather a key binding button. And this is going to be our key binding button prefab. Okay, so we'll say prefab for the key binding button. Okay, for just key binding buttons, I guess. Button to click to return to the options menu without applying changes, and versus button to click to return to the options menu without, oh, not without, and apply, actually, hold on. So it's probably going to be to apply changes and return to the options menu. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that. There are also probably, now that I think about it, there's going to have to be reserve keys. Like, well, jeez. Yeah. So I'm probably going to have to reserve certain keys, like backspace and enter. I don't think I can really let you do anything with those. Mostly because I need enter, well, I need backspace to function in menus for backspacing, obviously. And I need enter to function in menus as the submit button. So I can't really let you customize those. I have to lock those two down. But I think pretty much everything else is fine to mess with. So let's go ahead, and the only thing that I really need to do now is, well, let's make some cases here real quick. String text is equal to input.text.toLower, switch text, case A, case apply, we'll say break, it's going to do something, case C, oh yeah, I did toLower, okay, case C, case cancel, we're going to do something else, and then everything else is pretty much ignorable. So we're going to need to do a couple of things. First up, we are going to need a list, so I'm going to have to come up to here and say using system.collections.generic. Okay, I'm going to say private list key binding button. We'll just call these buttons, I guess, is equal to new list key binding button. That's all fine. We are going to need a function to private void generate buttons. Okay, versus private void clean up buttons, capital B, clean up buttons. Okay, and then we'll need some private void awake functionality. Override awake. We're going to have private void on accept clicked, private void on cancel clicked. Okay, and that's what these are going to do. So on cancel clicked, pretty much the same thing, versus on accept clicked, blah, blah, blah. And before I do anything else, I guess what I would do is submit delay? Is that what I, no, select delay. Yeah, that's not enumerator. Okay, so I need to do start coroutine. Start coroutine, select delay. Okay, just do that. That will clear any text that you typed in. And let's go ahead and quickly say accept button dot on click dot add listener on accept clicked versus cancel button. Cancel button dot on click dot add listener on cancel clicked. Okay. So that sets up those event listeners, and the only thing I really need to do now is I need to figure out how I want to present the data for buttons. So let's go ahead and let this compile, and while that's happening, I don't actually have it, but I can navigate to it. We're going to go to Game Development, Unity, Text Quest, and then there should be Build, Text Quest, and this is what our settings file looks like under Settings. So this is what our settings file looks like. There is currently not really a section for controls, obviously, but what we would probably want to do is we would add a new section called like key bindings, and that would just have simple key value pairs. So it would be like move forward is W, move left is A, and so on and so on. Let's go ahead and close that. So I'm not going to have a separate key bindings file is what I was getting at. We're just going to have a TextQuest settings file there. And let's go ahead and let that compile, come back to key bindings, come over to here. We'll select this prefab because I actually need to grab my key binding button. And oof, you're not going to be nice about that, are you? Oh, well, actually, you know what? You might be fine. You're going to fight me, though, aren't you? Yeah, so let's go ahead and I'm just going to drag this over to here. It's not really, oh, right, never mind. It's not going to like that. Let's go ahead and turn that off, turn you on. We're going to come back here, grab our key bindings button, put it underneath content so that it's kind of okay. And then we're going to remove this event button because unfortunately I can't actually use it. And then I need to add my key binding button. And it's fun because now I need to basically, let's lock this real quick. We're going to add a new inspector tab. We're going to select our key binding button that exists there. And then I can just copy these values more directly. And okay, and I'm also going to make the normal color and our disabled color completely transparent. Make this 0.2, automatic none. Okay, should be good. So now we can go ahead and close this, and we can unlock this. Go back to here, go back to here. Everything looks pretty good there. Let's go ahead and assign our labels. So there's our, uh-oh. Interesting. Am I getting an error? I have one error, but I think that's related to, yeah, that. Interesting. Well. Why are you doing that? I wonder. Okay, let's go to our key binding editor real quick. Oh, because I did the exact thing that I told you not to do. So, what I forgot to do is this. Serialized object dot update. And then at the end of this, serialized object dot apply modified properties. I forgot to do the exact thing that I told you not to do. Well, I forgot to do the thing that I told you to do. So that's exactly what happens, by the way, if you code a custom inspector without that stuff. You will see the fields, but you won't actually be able to assign their values. Okay, so let's go ahead and select this. Now we should be able to assign those values. Cool. So we're going to hit apply. Get rid of this. Come down to here. Now we should be able to assign our key binding button. Cool. As well as our accept button, and that's our output label, our cancel button. All right, so now we have those things. Let's go ahead and apply those changes. And the only thing we really need to do now is figure out how we want to handle key binding data. So probably what we'll do is we'll come down to here, say create, C# script. We'll say key binding data, which of course should have had a capital B for consistency's sake. And then we're going to need a key binding data collection, I'm going to say. Key binding data. This is not going to be a mono behavior. It's just going to be a system.serializable class. Does it even need to be serializable? Now that I think about it. Maybe. It's a little iffy if that's the case, actually. So, well, it's fine for now. It'll be a lot easier if it is serializable because I can actually debug it in the inspector. So it's fine if it is. Okay, so all we're going to do here is we're going to have a field that I can't make yet because I need to make an enum. So we'll let that compile at the very least. You can do it, Unity. I semi-believe in you. Okay. Wow, really? The compilation times tonight seem to be really slow. Ugh. Do not know what's going on there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and say create C# script. I'm going to call this, oh, Unity, why do you do this to me? I forgot. God, that's going to suck. Okay. So this is going to be our key binding type, I guess. This is going to be fun because I get to rename this again because I have to rename it twice. So fun fact about the Unity editor, it does not serialize capitalization differences for some reason. So if you ever mistype an asset's name with a lowercase instead of an uppercase, you basically have to rename it to something else completely. Usually just an extra number will help, and then change the spelling mistake when you get rid of that number. It's dumb that that's how it works, but that is how it works. So there's going to be an enum. That is a byte. It's going to be under text quest. Let's go ahead and save that. We don't need any of that. And what are our controls? So we'll have move forward is equal to 0. Move backward is equal to 1. Move left is equal to 2. Move right is equal to 3. And I'm going to let that compile real quick. When I look at key binding data. Let's go over to here. And this is going to be a public key binding type, which I know doesn't work yet because this is in the wrong namespace. What? Okay then. Key binding type is equal to, I'm just going to say move forward for now. And then I'm going to go to key binding options view, and I'm just going to have that be a public thing real quick. Key binding data is equal to key binding data. I just want to see if, I don't remember if underscores are treated as spaces in enums, or if they're just treated as regular underscores. If they're treated as regular underscores, which I think is the case, I will just make it a. I won't use underscores because I don't really need to. They're just extra space. Okay. What is happening? Okay. Do I need to like close this and reopen it? Or I guess let's go ahead and do this then. Public key code key is equal to keycode dot w by default. That's all fine. Maybe that compilation will force it to be correct. Oh my god, really? No. Interesting. Wow, you're going to make me do this the hard way. Oh my god. Seriously, fine. I guess I get to rename this key binding data 1. Wow, okay. You are just seriously making this terrible. So we'll make this key binding data 1 with a lowercase frickin' b, and I will rename the actual class to be that. This is insanity. So then we'll let that completely finish compiling before I rename it to be the correct name. Oy. Honestly, it probably would have just been faster for me. Actually, I don't even know if I would want to delete it and make a new one, because it's entirely possible that it would have freaked out. So we're going to go ahead and, right, now I have to go back to my keybinding options view. Let's just comment this out for now. It's all fine. And then everything should actually compile and function, and world peace was achieved. Okay, are you done compiling? It's so weird. I'm used to having the symbol show up, but it's just not showing up. Okay, so now that that's done, I can try freaking correcting this. So we're gonna make this key binding, not data 1, just key binding data, like that. Let's open that up. Oh, you have got to be kidding. Okay. Okay, so key binding data. Let's go ahead and let that compile, and everything should be fine. Okay. We're almost done. And that means I can now go back to this and do the thing I originally wanted to test, which I really should have done before I let that start compiling anyway. But now everything should actually function. All right, so let's take a look at this. It's funny that I went through all this effort to test it, because I'm like 90% sure that it won't actually look correct. Yep, uses the underscores. Okay, then I'm just gonna not use underscores. So let's get rid of this. Let's come back down to here, and we're gonna go to definition. Let's go ahead and just rename this to move forward. Then I can just get rid of the extra spaces for everything else. Okay, so okay, so that's our movement, and then we are going to have crouch is equal to 4. Jump is equal to 5. I will probably reorder these once I type everything out, and I'll try to alphabetize it so it's a little bit easier to select from. And once we have that, we can see. So we have move forward, move back, move left, move right, crouch, jump, sprint is equal to 6. Then we get that, so that's all of our basic movement, I believe. And from there, we will have interact, which is going to be equal to 10. Interact alt is equal to 11. We will not let enter be customizable, so I don't actually need to have a like open. Jeez. Okay, fine. Let's actually, you know what? I did also forget. Auto move is equal to 7. And let's see. What else do we need? Oh, my rotation, right? So let's go ahead and change these guys to like 20 and 21. This is going to be rotate up. It's going to be equal to 8. Rotate down is equal to 9. Rotate left is equal to 10. Rotate right is equal to 11. Okay, so that's all of the movement there now. Interact, we have left click, right click is our auto move. Left click is to interact. E is to interact alt. Geez. I don't know if I really want to allow customization of the inventory button, but I might as well. There's no real reason not to. So let's try to handle, let's comment these. So movement, interaction, these are going to be menus. Okay, so we're going to say we will want our inventory, or how about open inventory? Open inventory is equal to 30. Open help is equal to 31. Open verbs is equal to 32, which I don't actually think I have right now, but if I want to use it, I will set that up. Then we're going to need open interaction. Jeez. That's going to be equal to, we'll say 35. Open pause is equal to 36. And I think, honestly, that's everything that I need. Let's see, running around, crouch, interact. Because I don't want to allow the in-menu controls to be adjustable, so right-click while you're in a menu will close it. Well, the input menu anyway, as will hitting enter. Backspace can't really be used. It might be fine. Okay. And I think we are good there. So let's go ahead and I think that's all I really need. So we're going to save that. We will let that compile. And I need to create a key binding data collection now, which is just going to be a scriptable object. Okay. Yeah, it's super weird. Like, obviously this is not here anymore, but we don't have our... Yeah, it's so weird. I don't know what happened to my compile sign. It's like, it's gone. Let's go ahead and right-click, create, C# script. We're going to call this key binding data collection. Looks right. Okay. Open that up. So this is going to be a scriptable object. Scriptable. Okay, work with me here. Scriptable object. We'll say create asset menu. File name is going to be equal to key binding collection. And then our menu name is going to be equal to something else, which is going to be SOS text quest followed by collections key bindings. Okay. And this is going to be in our text quest namespace. We are going to need to say using sleepyowl.common though, because I need JSON stuff. And here is where it's going to be fun. So we were going to have public void initialize, and we're going to take a JSON object, JSON. Okay, and from there we are going to we're going to say public key binding data bindings is equal to new key binding data. So normally what I would do is I would want to parse this stuff out and populate this as a list, but I don't actually want to do that because even if for some reason your settings isn't there, then I don't want to just have no key bindings. So it's important that I actually have that stuff set up ahead of time. So what we're going to do is a little weird, but we're going to need a couple of things. So first up, we're going to say private void int get binding index based off of I guess it would just be key binding data. No, it would be key binding type. We can just do that. Type. Okay. And all we're going to do is just say for int I equals 0, I is less than bindings dot length I plus plus blah blah blah. We will return -1 if it does not exist. Otherwise, sorry, not void int, just private int. And then otherwise, we're going to say if bindings of I dot type is equal to type, then we will return I. Okay, pretty simple there. And all we're going to do is we're just going to say, you know what, actually, now that I think about it, this can be a straight up JSON array, can't it? Doesn't really make sense for it to be a JSON object. So this is going to be a JSON array, and for that we are going to do a lot of fun stuff, which is going to be for int I equals 0, I is less than array, JSON dot count. Oops, nope, because I made it length. Length I plus plus. And we're going to say, yep, okay. We're going to go back to key binding data real quick. Come down here, we're going to say public key binding data JSON object, JSON, blah, blah, blah. Come up to here. We're going to say using sleepyowl.common. We're going to say this is equal to null. And then we're going to say if JSON does not equal null, then our type is going to be equal to JSON dot get string value type. Dang it, would that be the best way to handle it? Yeah, I guess it would be. So we're going to say JSON to get string value type. And that's going to give us a string value, which is not actually something useful to us. So then we're going to have to say dot to enum and give it a key binding type as that. And then key is going to be equal to JSON.getStringValue to enum key code is going to be our key. Okay. And then we will also, just out of convenience, go ahead and add a public string to JSON. And then we'll be able to say, while I'm here, public void from JSON object, JSON, blah, blah, blah. Let's go ahead and grab this. Do that. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's do that. And we'll get rid of these guys. Put this here. Get rid of this. We'll just call from JSON. This is just so that I can structure it a little bit more like my JSON. Oh, whatever. It's fine. Like how I do other JSON parsing. So to JSON, I guess should probably be actually a JSON object. And all we're going to do there is just say JSON object. JSON is equal to new JSON object, and then we will return JSON. We're going to say JSON.add type, comma, type.toString, JSON.add key.toString. Okay, pretty straightforward there. Let's go back here, and all we're going to do is we're just going to say key binding data. Data is equal to new key binding data JSON dot get array at index. I'm sorry, not get array at index. Get object at index of I. Okay, so that should parse it all out, and then I can simply say if get binding index of data dot type is greater than or equal to 0. Then I can do stuff, and all we're going to do there is say, do I want to keep that? I guess the easiest thing for me to do would be simply to assign that. So let's go ahead and change this. We're going to say index, int index is equal to 0, and it's actually going to be equal to this. Copy that, paste that in, say index, and then we're just going to say bindings of index dot key is equal to data dot key. Pretty straightforward. Then probably what I can actually do is come up to here and just do that. That's, I think, all we really need to do for initialization purposes. We should be fine. And here is where things are going to be fun. So that's our initialize function, but we are also going to want to have a public key code get binding, and we're going to say key binding. Okay, not J binding, key binding. Key binding type, and we'll say pretty much this exact thing. Copy this. We will return null if nothing is found. Otherwise, we're going to say return bindings of I dot key. Okay, there. We can probably actually go ahead and do that. Might as well do that down here too, because it's only one line and it makes the code a little bit cleaner. Okay. Oh, this is going to be keycode dot none. So we're going to actually say keycode dot none. Hello, Gelmega. Welcome back. Streamed for the first time. Went pretty well. A bit annoying to get people to chat. Yeah. That's typically one of my biggest problems too. Lurkers are obviously going to always be a factor, but it's always much nicer as a streamer when you see people chatting. But so it went pretty well though. That's cool. What were you streaming? Are you doing development, or are you doing just kind of like a more casual playing a game type of affair? Okay, let's go ahead and comment this real quick. Uh, Returns a key bindings uh, key code. The target key binding to return key code 4. Okay. Okay. Nice. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I didn't know you were gonna start streaming. Did you like it then, or was it well, I assume it was weird because it's always weird for the first time. Um, but it sounds like it went well, so it's cool. Okay, so now we should be in a good place to let that compile and actually have everything kind of fall into place. We're not quite there yet, but we're almost there. And actually, probably what I need to do here is go to, is it game settings? Is that where I want it to go? Is there a start function here? Start. Save. Start. Yep. There we go. Okay, so we're going to come up to here. We're going to add. Go ahead and get rid of this because I don't need those things anymore. We are going to. Am I even using you? I guess I am. That's fair. Let's go ahead and save this. Working on my renderer and material system. Cool. A couple of people that chatted at the moment. I talked for 1.5 hours. After an hour, mostly music. Okay. So it was like a 2.5 hour stream. Yeah, the longer streams are they're kind of rough on you. I found that 2 hours is typically a good sweet spot, but that's honestly more convenient for me. I get the feeling that people like longer streams because it gives them more of a window to kind of pop in and pop out conveniently, which is why I don't like doing streams shorter than an hour and a half. But okay, let's go ahead and we are going to add public. Wow, it's like all audio stuff that's in there. We're gonna have public key binding data collection key bindings. Okay. And then on load, all we're gonna do is say get string, refresh display settings, refresh graphics, audio, save settings, load settings. Okay. So we're gonna do that. Let's go ahead and come down here. We're gonna say JSON array. This is gonna be key binding JSON or info, I guess, is equal to info dot get array. We're gonna need all of these fun settings things. So settings utility dot settings game. I know that's not correct, but we'll fix it in a second. JSON array. Come down here. Let's go to peak definition. Let's come up to, oh, there it is. Settings keys. That's what I wanted. Settings keys. Yeah, I tried again this evening, but had competition from Jonathan Blow and hardly difficult. Yeah. Yeah, it can be pretty disheartening when you don't have anyone show up in chat after like an hour. You're kind of like, no one loves me. um, it can be a little bit of a blow to your self-esteem, but you know, not everyone's going to be able to attend every day. So, anyway, let's go ahead and we're going to say keep binding info, so that gets us our array, and then we're going to come down to gameplay. Let's come down to here. We're going to say key bindings, and all we're going to do there is call key binding dot initialize, and then give it our key bindings info. Okay, and what we are going to want to do after that is probably actually we'll go down to key binding collection. Let's just create a function real quick to basically turn all of our key bindings into a sensible JSON blob. So we're going to say public JSON array to JSON. Oop, that was terrible. To JSON. Or, yeah, that's fine. And if I have some followers, I'll probably have some people to join when I stream. But I don't have a lot yet. Game 2. Nice! Congrats. Yeah, I need to. I don't know. I think I need to do better at communicating with people, honestly, like getting the community more involved. Because right now it feels kind of flat. Like there's not really a ton of interaction between me and the people in chat whenever I'm streaming. Like I read responses, obviously, but um, that's not as interesting as it probably could be. Anyway, so let's go ahead and say JSON array. JSON is equal to new JSON array. We will return JSON at the end here. Otherwise, we're going to call gain 2 viewers. Yeah. Hey man, you gotta start, right? You gotta start somewhere. So we're gonna say JSON. Oh, not right. For int I equals 0, I is less than bindings dot length I plus plus. We're gonna say JSON dot add, and we will simply call bindings of I dot to JSON. Okay. Pretty straightforward. And then when we go down to game settings, what we're gonna do is come down here, and actually we're not, yeah, that's fine. So this is going to be a bit of a cheat, but we're going to say JSON array bindings JSON is equal to key bindings dot to JSON. So that automatically creates it for us, which is nice. I was going to say, why are you giving me a squiggle? Have noticed that just having C++ game engine in the title can attract some people. Yeah, I mean, usually people obviously are searching for what they are kind of curious dev-wise about. There's also the hashtag stuff that you can put in there, the tags. Although I think Twitch is actually getting ready to revamp this entire system, so they're getting rid of communities and they're changing like the categories and they're getting rid of the tags and replacing them with a bunch of other things. So you might want to read up on that, I guess, if you're starting to get into streaming, because that actually does make a huge difference. I actually might need to double check to make sure that stuff hasn't already gone into effect. Because if you're not up to date with all of that stuff, then you kind of get shoved to the bottom of it and no one can find you, which obviously sucks. Anywho, so we're going to come down to here and we are going to end up with JSON.add settings utility dot settings underscore not game settings underscore keys followed by key binding. What did I call it? Oh, I called it bindings JSON because of course I did. Go back up to here. I'm just gonna rename that because I don't want it to just be called that. Everything else is key bindings. Bindings JSON or key bindings JSON. Okay. So that should now save and load all of our JSON information for that. And here is where things should be fine. If we try to load in JSON with no array, like the array length is 0, which is what it would be when it first is created, it should just use all the default ones that I set up in the inspector. So it should be fine, I think. So let's go ahead and let this all compile, and I will see all of the warnings and errors that I probably have for some reason. That's the biggest issue. Streamlabs put me in games programming? Huh, that's weird. I think that actually happened to me once, and that's a category that no one uses it. Yeah, and I think one of the things that Twitch is changing is like they're getting rid of creative. If I remember correctly, they're changing it to something else. I don't remember what it is, but so just be aware of that. That creative is not going to be a thing in like a few weeks. This is in data collection. Well, let's go ahead and close that and reopen it. Okay. So I think that's pretty much everything we need as far as the structure goes for saving and loading this stuff. So we obviously don't have it quite functioning in terms of setting the bindings yet, but we do have, I think at this point, a structure that will let us load and save the values that you set, even though you can't actually set them right now. So are you using the new Streamlabs OBS thing then for your streaming? And let's see, we're going to come down to here. I don't really know where I should put that. So it's going to go under Game Manager, and then I have settings here. That's where I would put it. I guess I would put it next to here. Maybe. So of course it's under audio, which I guess needs, it's under data. This is so, I need to consolidate my data objects. I have way too many of them. It's like so many things. Okay, so we're going to say create folder, and I guess I will call this key bindings. Okay, let's go ahead and create SOS TixWest collection, and then of course it's called collection, it's not collection. Okay. Well, let's I'll change that once I have to change the script real quick. Okay, so as far as the bindings goes, we're gonna go ahead and say, what was it? How many did I have? We have 11, 13, 18 of them. Okay. Oh, and I really, do I want to make a custom property drawer? I shouldn't. I don't care that much, I don't think. Okay, so this is going to be move forward with, oh, really? What? Interesting, it's key code of none, even though it has a key code of W as its initialization. It's curious. Okay, well, in any case, let's go ahead and come down to here. So this is going to be W. This is going to be move backward, which is S. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that hitting it multiple times would actually go through it. Okay, that's cool. So, fun fact for working with Unity, if you have multiple key codes or enum values that start with the same letter, you can apparently just use or keep tapping the key to jump between them all. That's actually pretty nice. Okay, so let's move left. Let's go ahead and collapse these. Yeah, the only reason I was considering creating a custom property drawer is because, like, I don't know. I can't easily see what they are without opening them up, which kind of sucks. But so it's going to be move right, which is going to be RD. Okay, and then after that we have crouch, which is, oh geez, it's going to be left control, which is going to be fun. Left control. Okay, followed by jump, which is going to be space. And then after that is sprint, which is going to be left shift, right? Yep, left shift. Okay. Still a better interface than my engine, since I don't have an interface. Yeah, I guess a bad interface is technically better than, well, actually not a bad interface, because that's actually much easier. I actually never knew how to look for key codes that were buried after the first one. I didn't know that it did this, so this is actually really nice. Hooray for happy discoveries. I thought you had an interface for your editor, didn't you? Or are you just loading everything through straight scripts right now? Okay, so we have sprint, auto move. This is going to be mouse, I think. I believe it's going to be mouse 1. Oh, geez. Crap. So, yeah, okay, that's totally going to be a thing. Probably I'm going to have to basically read in these enum values, and then when I assign their labels to the key bindings menu, I'm going to have to format them so that they are more easily understood, because mouse 0 and mouse 1, does not make sense. Excuse me. Um, to normal people. Like obviously developers and even probably some seasoned game veterans will probably understand that mouse 0 is left button and mouse 1 is right button. But you can not assume that someone who's never played a game before will know what mouse 1 and mouse 0 means. Um, okay, so as far as that goes, let's go to rotate up, which is going to be our up key, I believe. So we're going to say U, up arrow, yep. Ah, that was weird. Okay. Move forward. We're going to change this down to rotate down, which is going to be down key, or down arrow. Don't have a, or pure C++ code for now. Don't have a UI system yet. That's why I'm working on my renderer. Okay. Um, oh, I guess if you're working on that, you may want to check out, let's see if I can find it here. It's a thing called Dear MGUI. Haha. That's a interface that I've seen some people talk about for implementing editor tooling, and it seems like it's pretty good. But admittedly, I've never really messed around with my own engine, so I don't know. But it's something that I should probably. Yeah, there we go. So I wasn't sure. I figured I would mention it just because I've heard good things about it. Um, Also had a fun issue today. Couldn't create a graphics pipeline. The NV driver crashed. Found out that the fragment shader got compiled as if it was a vertex shader. Really? Huh. Huh. Yeah, that seems weird. Was it just like a miss like it wasn't declared properly, or did it just for some reason decide that I was gonna render it as or as a vertex shader? Huh. Immediate mode. Yeah. Yeah. Which is how a lot of GUIs are actually rendered. I know that that's how the Unity GUI used to be. Don't I don't think it's like that anymore. Actually, it probably is like that still. But yeah, that's totally how the old Unity GUI system used to be before they ported to OnGUI, and I think that actually is still how OnGUI works, which is blah. Um, oh, okay. Oh, there you go. What graphics API are you using? Are you using, I was going to say Vulkan, but I'm assuming OpenGL? Also, thank you, Heal Kings. Welcome to the Devstream. We are currently handling key bindings. As best I can, anyway. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and populate these all real quick. Rotate right. Interact. Alt. Open inventory. Open help. Open verbs. Wow, I just completely counted wrong. Unless I skipped some. Nope. Okay, completely counted wrong. Open interaction. 19. Not here. Open pause. Cool. So we're going to say rotate left is left arrow. So left, 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 left arrow. Rotate right is going to be right arrow. Aha. Collapse these. Interact is going to be mouse 1, so M. Oh, sorry, mouse 0. Interact alt is going to be our E key. Okay. Get rid of that. Vulkan for now. That's cool. Hopefully that's good luck with that. I took a crack at Vulkan a while back and it was super esoteric. Of course, it was still in its weird formative phase, and it just kind of didn't. They were changing stuff, I think, every week, which made it frustrating to keep up with. But I think it's a lot more stable now than it was. What GUI? So Unity's UI system, like everything you see here, is called OnGUI. It was written by one of their founders originally, and it's an immediate style system, but it's a pain to work with, so people try to avoid it as best they can. Um, anyway, so for open inventory, we're going to make that's just our I key. Open help is the H key. Open verbs is going to be the V key. Open interaction is the enter key, which is actually going to be return right there. And open pause is the escape key. Okay, so I think that's all of our controls. Let's go ahead and I'm going to assign this to our key bindings. We're going to hit save, and then I'm going to just real quick. Oh, I guess I can actually assign that. Oh, dang it. Okay. Minor changes real quick before I forget to do them. We're going to make this collection instead of collections. And then we're going to go to key binding options view, and we're going to say serialize field, tooltip, private, and this is going to be our key binding data collection. We'll just call this bindings, I guess. And this is just going to be data for key bindings. Okay, we're not going to code that functionality yet. We got to let this compile. And then I want to make sure that it saves and loads properly. See, the svert and sfrag arguments both are set to vert since binary code has a shader type defined in it. Huh. Well, at least you were able to figure it out, though. God, that must have been a pain to debug. Okay, so we're going to let that go. Let's assign our reference real quick, and then I'm going to just apply our changes. Turn off our UI. Hit save. Oh, and work with me here. Before I forget, let's go up here to UI and assign our menu. So we're going to make this, now, you know, I'm going to do it the lazy way. Come down here to game options. Let's just duplicate this, and we're going to make this our view key bindings. Cool. All right, so now if we play, what should happen is it will try to initialize with nothing, which makes sense because we don't have any key binding data saved out yet. But when we edit our options of any type, so if we go to game options, let's go ahead and just toggle crouch and hit apply and go back, and we should be able to stop. Let's check our settings. Wrong settings. Ha! So those are all of our key bindings with their appropriate colon. Did I make it colon? Really? Oh, what the heck? I had it as escape. Escape. That was weird. It must have accidentally selected it. Okay, well, I can manually fix that, I guess. Escape. Okay. That should be everything that I would expect. E for interact alt. Mouse 0. Rotate right. Rotate left. Yep, we're looking good. Cool. So let's go ahead and close that. Let that compile. The idea to check that just jumped into my head. Also quickly check the Spurvy specs and notice that the shader type was defined in the bytecode. Huh. Yeah, well, I mean, that's, I guess, the the perks of working with newer graphics APIs. Of course, then again, admittedly, I've never really even worked with OpenGL beyond very basic stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this. Close that. Let's get rid of you. Get rid of all of this stuff. So that should get everything ready to go as far as the back end. So now we need to come up with a way to um, basically get things to function on the front end. So we're going to go to key binding button, and there's probably actually going to be some oddities here because um, okay, probably what we're going to do here is we're going to say private string label text is equal to nothing by default. Private string value text is equal to nothing by default. Okay. And all we're going to do there is say label text is equal to label and value text is equal to value label. Okay. And with that, we're going to add a public function. So public void. I would probably want to call this. What would I call this? Essentially, this is going to be what I call whenever you start editing something, so I can show the ellipses. So this will be more of a set, like, okay, so it's going to be set edit, I guess. Set editing, bool value, if value, value label dot text is equal to, it's going to be equal to just this dot 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 and that, else value label is equal to value text. Okay. Oh, sorry, value label dot text. Duh. I was like, why is that not working? Oh yeah, obviously. Okay. So with that, we're going to go down to key binding options view. Come over to here. And let's see. I also just noticed that I have a confusing name in my engine. I have views, that is basically the viewpoint to render from with its data, and a render view wrapper around the swap chain and back buffer swapping. Probably going to rename the render view to swap chain. That makes sense. Also going to have to figure out a good way to add objects to render, since a double hash map isn't that great. Probably some kind of handle system. So are you, well, yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna say, like, I think I can't really help you there. That is admittedly beyond me. I do wish I was more experienced in that regard, but low-level programming like that is always something that has escaped me. Okay. Anyway, so as far as generate buttons go, we're gonna call cleanup buttons first, because that's how you do it. And then once we do that, I'm at the point where everything in the engine can change. Weren't you at that point a long time ago, though, too? This is the same engine you've been working on for a while, right? Okay, so for generate buttons, what we're going to do is we're going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than bindings dot, we'll just say bindings dot length. I plus plus. Okay, we're going to say key binding button is equal to pool manager dot request key binding button prefab. Oh, and we're going to say null first because I actually need to come up here, and we're going to say serialize field tooltip private rect transform binding area, I guess. Rect transform key binding buttons will be parented to. Okay. Rewrote it at some point. Yeah, I remember that you were doing the rewrite. Have you built anything with it yet, or are you still kind of in the prototyping stages for functionality? I guess you said you were doing rendering, so I would imagine that without rendering, it's kind of hard. Okay, so this is going to be our binding area. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to say button dot initialize, and then bindings dot bindings of I dot type. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna. Okay, so we're gonna do this. Private string string get, come on, get binding name, and that will take a key binding type, and we will just for now return type dot toString. So we're just going to go ahead and say get binding name, blah blah blah. Do that. Then we'll say comma. We're going to pretty much just copy this again. Come down here. Oh, yeah, that's right. This is going to be our key. This is going to be a key code. This is going to be get binding key. We'll just call this key.toString. And then we're pretty much going to do the exact same thing that we did here. Let's paste that in. Just call get binding key. And then paint that as key. The basic stuff, also loading a 1.5 milivert object that consists of 1 million lines. Takes 30 plus seconds. Oh yes, that is a little bit long. You might want to cut that down at least to 20. You know, make it more reasonable. Okay, so that is the initialization for that. And actually, this is not just going to be key to string. We're actually going to cheat and do this because we are terrible and we're generating so much garbage. Actually, no, this is god awful. Why would I do it that way? Let's go over here to key binding data. I'm actually going to just handle it like this. We're going to say private string type string is equal to nothing, followed by private string key string is equal to nothing. Then we're going to do this, public string type string get return type string, not types, type string. Okay, then public string key string get return key string. Okay, then what we will do is, why are you mad? Okay, I think you're mad because you're just not compiling properly. Because you totally should be correct. There is a semicolon there, so why are you freaking out? Whatever, you're just being weird. So let's go ahead and copy up and paste that back in there. Yep, it was just being weird. But still, this means that someone thought that the object was small enough to store it as an object. OBJ. Yeah, OBJ files, I mean, they're pretty straightforward. That's kind of why they're nice, but good God, yeah. 1.5 or 1 million lines. Ooh, I guess that would make sense. Ugh. Are you currently sticking to OBJs for now, or are you going to try to implement like FBX support or Collada files? Jeez. Okay, and I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to add a function called public void reinitialize. Okay, we're just going to say type string is equal to blech. Okay. So we're going to go back here to key binding options views. I'm actually going to just move these things into key binding data. They're going to be private. Is going to be equal to get binding name type, and then key string is equal to get binding key of key. So the reason that I'm doing this here is because if you just constantly open and close the key binding options menu, it would have been regenerating all of these strings, which is insanity. That would be about 20 strings that get generated every time you open it. And it would be much better for me to just generate them once on load and then regenerate some of them when you change them. That makes a lot more sense. So we're going to call reinitialize here. And then for get binding name, this is all fine for now. I'm just going to keep it pretty basic. What we'll do eventually is we'll want to come back through here and make these just be a little bit more pretty so that things can look nice. And then we can come back over to here. So I don't need to do this whole get binding name thing. Instead, I can just straight up say bindings type string followed by bindings dot key string. Pretty nice and straightforward. Okay, get rid of that. We can get rid of these two functions now. And all we're going to do here is just say for int I equals 0, I is less than, how do I want to do that? That's fine. Buttons dot count I plus plus. That's the only thing I currently support, but I will add more formats later. Also, texture and model loading is done via plugin. I got a basic plugin system to work already. Cool, nice. Okay, then after this, we're just going to say buttons.clear. And then between that, we're actually going to do, buttons.add button. Okay. But I need to assign event listeners, which means I need to assign delegates. So probably what we'll do is we'll say, let's come down here. We're going to say private void on binding button clicked int index. It's the easiest thing I think I can do. So we're going to say button.onClick.add listener delegate. Totally that, followed by, it's been a while. Oh, and it's an int. No, it's fine. So we're going to call on binding. What am I doing? Clearly I've forgotten how I declare my own freaking delegates. Let's go to options view. Oh, right, I don't need the delegate part, duh. On binding button clicked, and here's where it gets super fun because I actually need to do this. Int index is equal to I. Then we'll pass in index as an option here. We'll say, what are you trying to format here, Visual Studio? That looks stupid. Okay, and then we're going to come down here. We're just going to say buttons of I dot on click dot remove all listeners because we don't need really anything specific. Okay, and that should be good. So let's go ahead and, and I need to recycle them. Duh. Pool manager dot recycle buttons of I dot game object. Okay, and actually that means that I'm probably going to go ahead and go to wrong thing. Key button peek. Oh, it's a button. Shoot. Right. Because I feel like I can optimize that. So, all right, let's go ahead and go to definition here. I'm gonna actually change this. Oh, and look at that, it's using the old Hoosier Game stuff. CBL. Okay. Okay, if all goes well, I have a white unshaded chalet on my stream. Fingers crossed, man. Let's hope it works. Okay, so with this, I am going to actually come down to pointer down. Oh wait, no, I don't need to come down that far. I can instead probably come to here. We're basically just going to make some optimizations for caching purposes. So we're going to say, not serialized field. Actually, this is going to be hidden inspector. Then we're going to say private game object underscore game object. There we go. Versus hidden inspector private transform. Normally I would just have this thing derive from SOS mono behavior, but since it has to derive from button, I can't do that. So we're going to have to make these ourselves. Okay, and that means that I can do new public game object get return game object question mark underscore game object, otherwise underscore game object is equal to base dot game object. Ta-da! Then new public transform get return underscore transform question mark underscore transform else underscore transform is equal to base dot transform. Okay, pretty straightforward. And the reason I do that is because now it'll optimize whenever I'm recycling all that stuff. So it's just a nice thing to have. Okay. So that should handle, I think, spawning and initializing all of them. And for now, we're not going to worry about anything else. So let's go ahead and hit save there. Or, well, not save, but let it compile. And I think we can give it a dry run. So what should happen is when we go to the key bindings menu, it should actually generate buttons for all of our key bindings and show them the correct key with the appropriate string formatting. We won't be able to edit them yet, but it should be functional, and that's the important thing. So if it won't work, not update buffers yet, or actually waiting for the command list to complete. All right, well, thanks for stopping by, Jelmega. Good luck on the engine. Hopefully all the Vulkan actually can come together, get everything looking nice. Or I guess technically looking at all. Well, take it easy. Okay, so let's go ahead and give this a test run. I think it will generate everything as we would expect. So let's see. We're gonna have, let's click through this, type start. Crashed Visual Studio. Well, that's, it's something. Okay, let's go to options, key bindings. Oh. Did it? Oh. You know why it didn't do anything, because I didn't tell it to actually spawn that stuff on start. So we're going to come up here and say override open. If not is open, then we'll call base.open. I guess I could also have this be bool close others. We'll pass in close others here. Okay, and what we want to do is after we call open, we are going to call generate buttons, and then on close, we're going to actually call cleanup. So override close if is open. We're going to call, actually before we get to the base.close, we're going to call cleanup buttons. That should recycle them all. Okay, now that should actually generate everything. At least I'm hoping. Okay. It's so weird not having that compile sign. I don't know where it went. Where did you go, my little compile friend? Because now I just have to try to scroll to see if it's actually doing anything. All right, let's go ahead and hit play. Now I'm 90% sure that it will work. In the sense that it will at least generate buttons. Click through this all. Go to start. Let's go to options, key bindings. Ooh, we might have to increase the size of our place because you can see that it's clipping on the G there. It's not great. Same with the Y. Yeah, okay. Let's go ahead and go to key bindings, and you still didn't do it, which makes me really concerned. Okay, so let's come here to our game manager and then our settings object. Key binding, you do have everything, right? Yeah, you got all those options, but you're not doing anything. How interesting. I wonder why. Well, first, I guess let's make sure that it's actually opening the right menu. So key binding options view, that is correct. And I mean, it looks like it is just because of the prefab stuff. So, how curious. Come down to here, we call clean up buttons. We add all of our button stuff. We request them. Oh, duh. I can't believe I did that. Yeah, that makes sense actually, because I forgot to do something very important, which is assign my binding area. So let's come back up to here, scroll view, viewport, content. There we go. That would be my problem. So it was technically spawning all of them. It's just that it was spawning them in the root of the scene, which is pretty much useless. So let's try that again. But at least it wasn't a code change. Click through everything. Let's go to options, key bindings. Okay, so it's totally doing it, but it's not populating the text like I would expect. Interesting. Interesting. Ugh, freaking. Let's see, key bindings, root, content, scroll view, viewport, content, key binding button. Is it because our label is... Yeah, it's getting set to nothing. Interesting. Type string, go to definition. No. Oh, that's why. Duh. Again, it's because of something silly that I did. So we're going to go ahead and come down here. And when we call initialize, we are going to do this. Bindings dot reinitial of index dot reinitialize. There we go. That should work now. I forgot to actually set the strings to be anything. Kind of an important thing. Let's see if that works. And we're frozen for a second. It's cool. Scrolling and moving is for losers. Let's try that again. But at least it was generating them, which is, I mean, that was kind of funny, but this time I am 95% sure that it will actually function as expected. Start. Options, key bindings. Hooray! Definitely need to increase the speed of the scrolling, but nice. So all of that is working, and we can probably assign tooltips for these as well. So if you hover over them, they'll actually display some kind of tooltip. But I think we're going to call it a night there. So we have key binding saving out all of our settings. You can see that we actually have everything saving out. And we have it loading in properly. So it's all a matter at this point of just getting the actual runtime bindings to actually work. So yeah, that's a pretty good place to stop for the night. Quick announcement. So we should be on track for doing a Saturday stream. We're probably going to be just focusing on Text West again, not taking a break for our tank stuff. We'll get back to that at some point, but I feel like I've had a little bit of a progress shortfall because of all the work I've been doing. So, and yeah, that's pretty much the only announcement for the immediate future. So, all right, that's a good place to stop. So, as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.